We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity Top Gun Sales Boot Camp Training, and a lot to go over today. So let's dive in. Nora, what you got?
At 46% yesterday.
You go, girl. Well done. Nice. Anything else?
Nope, I don't think so.
Luke or Kenny, what you got?
Um, I don't know my percentage. Oh,
Yep.
that was the other thing, the question. Like, in order to get a percentage, is there something like GPS in the PPA that you have to like upload your goal or input your goal somewhere?
There should be something in there about goal setting and stuff. And so, will it work for you? Maybe. And so, yeah, there's something in there you can say, I think, set goals and go in and do that.
Yeah, it's gonna be right under where you put the daily numbers. It's gonna be a yearly goal tab.
And it may need some work on it. You might need to do some customization. So it'll figure out, so you have your own personal income goal, and then you have the company. And so you have team, you have individual, then you have team, then you might have company. So it might work or it might need some tweaking. So
Got it.
anything else, Kenny, you got?
Um, no.
Luke, what you got?
So yesterday we finished a job where he was an internet lead, and I talked to him some over the phone. And so something I like to do in sales, I like to where when I can connect with people and they're not like family, but I can joke with them. I can, where I spend some time with them. So all I talked with him was, I think it was 10 minutes in person. Like, get the options he needs. And I didn't feel like with him, like throughout the whole process, we did a great job for him, but I don't feel like very connected with it, or I don't know how to say it, or
So did you connect with him then?
maybe some.
Okay. So what's your question?
So like with internet leads and a system that you don't have to talk to people a lot and they can have their estimate, how do we make the experience excellent?
So if you're going to be web based, you might have, like a song. You might have, the vision, tighten it down. You might have some AI stuff that you produce for videos that are short segments. Like here's the 3-step process, connect it back into the brand and your booklet that Nora put together on the three things. Like, here's a short video on the first step, here's a short video on the second, here's a short video on the third. And you're blending all of that together. You might connect it back into the, Riverside retreats and your, yearly events. If you're in business, we want to partner with you. And so when you're having a roof done, it's not like an addition. And so it's going to take more work, more intentionality. There's something and that's where if you did the personalities, you build that into the process, you build the personalities and you start to hook them with that. Um, but it's hard. It's hard work. You're going to have to try it a little bit here, a little bit there, little tweak here or there. It's going to take work.
Got it.
Question. Anything else, Luke, you have?
Um, I did a one job like this, and I know Kenny did a couple where people called us for a roof, and we just did an aerial. It's a system where we use where we can get aerial measurements, and then we sent an estimate. And yesterday we were saying about selling over the phone versus in person. Like, I don't think those sales have the odds of those sales going through are as high. or they're less likely to go through than closed than if I like to not give them their estimate right away, prepare everything, and then once I go out, I speak with them, then I give them their estimate.
So what you want to do is you've got a lot of feelings in there, and that's consistent with your expressive. So often your feelings become reality.
Okay.
So Henry Ford said, you believe a thing to be true or believe it not, either way you're right. So when you look at personalities, when you look at personality stuff, it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. You believe something to be true, it'll be true, but not for the reasons that you think it is. It's the mind is very powerful. I mean, very, very powerful. This is where you want the truth. And so often we make something the truth. We want something and we don't know why we want it. We just want something. And what we do is we go ahead, especially if we have persuasive personalities, we move people to give us what we want. We see the data for what we want. And then we end up, with it not, it works for a short period of time, but then it blows up in our face and we don't know why. It's because you gamed the system, you gamed your mind. Here you have improved pressure point analysis, improved pressure points. Here you have dollar results marketing. So we know that, if you have a lead that's a 9, you just need a system that's a 1. If you have a lead that's a 3, you need a system that's a 7. And so you do get dopamine hit off of connecting with people, which is fine. But can you build a system where you don't have to have that? Because the cost to do that is going to be, time cost is going to be substantially higher, especially for you, because you have to have a driver because you're Amish.
Mm-hmm.
And so you might have certain, size jobs that you do that, or there might be certain questions that you do that. And so I don't know if any of that's making sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, we often
Where
are lazy and we take the easy way out and we have a self-fulfilling prophecy rather than forcing ourselves into a situation where we have to go ahead and work a lot harder. And so what happens is we often work a lot harder and we get less results doing something we don't like doing. If we do that over a period of time, we will get good at doing something. It's just discipline. But if we cave in and say, yeah, I knew I was right. Anytime I know I'm right, like, yeah, Mark, you're right. Anytime I know I'm right, I'm always a little cynical. I'm my own biggest cynic.
Gotcha.
Why are you smiling, Kenny? You're on
You're
mute.
on mute.
That's just strange
How so?
to be your own worst cynic,
My own best cynic.
best cynic.
Like, why is that strange? I mean, when you go ahead and when we get defensive, we feel terrible later. Like we feel weak and we feel like we've been attacked and we feel like this or that. We feel terrible. So how do you prevent getting on the defensive? You just be more aggressive with yourself. You just go ahead and say, so when Sophia says, are you a good dad? I'm like, no, I suck. So you want reality-based thinking. You want to see where your weaknesses are before your spouse, before your children, before your friends, before your customers. You want to be, and again, we've talked about this in the past, as long as you got the core and creating God, image of God, like it's, as long as you've got the core, you got nothing to lose. You got nothing, you have nothing to fear. So Luke, what you're doing is these two here are going to be numbers. And so you go ahead and track and you say, what are our internet sales closing ratios? And so you want data to support it. You want data, and data can be moved. If you have, if you have strong analytic people, they know how to use data to move, and they can have lots of data to prove they're right. But just because they have data doesn't mean they're right. It just means they have data. Now, if you're one that doesn't use data, you'd probably be good to use data. Your intuition, it can be really wrong too. So Tom calls it the reticular activating system. It's another piece, Nora. I don't think I've told you about Tom's reticular activating system. And what that is you buy, you buy a blue Chevy truck. And after you buy a blue Chevy truck, all of a sudden you notice all the blue Chevy trucks that are around you. Before you didn't. So the reticular activating system, this goes back into the marketing model. I think we've talked about this in the past, maybe not. It's really, really good. And so in the reticular activating system, the marketing model, and so in this here, there's a subconscious, there's 4 phases, Tom says, in the marketing model. Wouldn't it be nice? This is subconscious. So in the subconscious mind, wouldn't it be nice to buy a home? Wouldn't it be nice to have an addition? Wouldn't it be nice to go ahead and have an addition over the garage? Wouldn't it be nice to go ahead and have a greenhouse? Wouldn't it be nice to have a deck? Wouldn't it be nice? So this is subconscious. Then you move to phase 2, phase 2 of it, because we're expanding our family, because we have social events, because it'd be fun for the kids and the holidays. Still subconscious. These first 2 you barely see them. These first 2 are in the subconscious. That's why it's good to learn to read people's subconscious. Here you have justification. Again, this is all subconscious. And then the first time conscious thought hits and it becomes conscious, and there's filters. And so in here, like, what, we could do that. We could buy a home. We could put on an addition. We can afford that. And so then you go ahead and have connection with the industry. You go, I'm going to call a realtor. I'm going to call a builder. I'm going to call an interior designer. I'm going to do that. And then here you go all the way through this contact with the industry. And then right down here in this little red strip here is when you go ahead and are ready to buy. That's when you're a 9 prospect. So you're probably a 7 prospect when you connect with the industry. Here you're probably a 5 to 7 contact. Here you don't even know. So what are you guys all thinking right now? Iterations to success.
What causes that? Like, what causes the movement from step 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, 3 to 4?
It's often, it can be a couple things. One is it's an event, like on first time conscious thought, because, well, we could buy a house because all our friends, people tend to move in herds. So people tend to move in herds. And so you bought your first home without even seeing it. Like you didn't even see it because somebody's been through that path before. Was that a good decision? There's really good parts about it, and then there's other stuff it was a new experience. It was interesting, but you'll do fine on it. And so because you had somebody that's helping you and you trust that somebody, all of a sudden, boom, everything happened just like that. 10 years before the average person, well, 8 years before the average person did it. So they accelerated because you trusted, because you had somebody, you're a good steward of the 7Ps, you trusted that person enough to say, yeah, I'll do it. So there's different events that happen. If you have a baby, you get married. So you get married, and all of a sudden your wife will bring it to your conscious thought. She will take it out of the subconscious, move it into the conscious really fast. Babies do that, increasing the size of your family, seeing your friends go ahead and do that. So things start, the cluster principle, it starts to move, and all of a sudden other people start doing it. You're like, wow, if other people start doing it, I do it. Katrina, our middle daughter, when she was 15, she had a friend named Noel, and it was Todd Walker. He was actually in construction to own his own construction firm. And he and I were talking one day, and we were kind of laughing, and uh, Katrina, who was 15, and her friend Noel, where they were more interested in boys at a younger age than the older siblings. And I said something, I said, yeah, it seems like the girls are more interested in boys at a younger age than their older siblings. And he laughed and he said, yeah, I think I know why that is. And I said, really, why is that? And he said, because they were exposed to their older siblings in dating and other things. So the reticular activating system kicked in and said, wow, that looks fun. And so there's actual, I believe, hormones and stuff that get kicked in where often the younger ones actually develop physically faster than the older ones because of those things, because they're exposed to the older children. So the same thing. So what do you do? How do you use that for business? You're like, really, Mark? I use it for business. Everything, there's all over the place. And so what you do is you expose level 3 to level 4. You expose level 2 to level 3. You expose level 1 to level 2. And what that will do is it will move it faster. And so that's where the success is box 12, the successes. Your internet success leads will be different testimonies. So I don't know, hopefully you guys all saw Amy's. So people think, well, Amy's doing you a favor. I'm not saying it's true, she is, but we will go ahead and do far larger. She will gain far more benefit from this than we will. How do you know that? Because I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make sure that when somebody's doing something for me, I'm going to work harder to give them more value than they're giving me. Will that always happen? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully someday somebody will go ahead. Hopefully other people, as I get older, theoretically, I'm going to not be able to produce as much. So you look at that. So I'm going to highlight. That's why on Thursdays with Nora's virtual coffee connection, like you guys should be on that. You guys should get, well, Teresa, she's a mom, so she doesn't want to get up too early. It's her own words. That's what she said. I don't know what to tell you. So you get other things, or you get other people to go ahead and participate in that. So here, I said to Luke in the pre-show, so here, if you're on Action Vision, you can go through and you can look at these different videos about the 530 grid. So the first one you have thinking differently, systems through success. Internalize that. Then you go ahead and have this, and then you have, the 530 grid. And these are like, this one here is 8 minutes. And then you have the second one here. The second one here is going to be 4 ways to learn the 530 grid. You need to internalize this. The third one, and then it talks about internalization. And you probably have to go back and say, did I really internalize this? See, when you internalize something, it becomes life-changing. It just does. Then you go into this here in the 6 levels and the 3 segments. And then you go into GTing it, the golden triangle. And then you go ahead and want to quit, and you're 3 feet from gold. And so these, you guys are looking at these. So how many of your team members should go through this? The 3 feet from gold, that's for, so employees they'll be so close to making a breakthrough and they'll quit just 3 feet from gold. So every employee should go through this particular one. Do they wander around and say, what about this? And what about that? And then leadership and profitable partnerships. And so it goes back to what Tom Kuntz's Grandpa Chappelle, said, when he was a teenage boy, he said, Tom, you're not going to understand the value of this now. So all I do is ask you to write it down because you will sometime in the future. That doesn't stop at 15. If you're 21, it applies just as much as it did, if not more, than when you're 15. If you're 25, it applies as much, if not more. If you're 30, it applies. So there's things that you guys are exposed to now that most people your age are not exposed to. And so Nora and Ginger Ann, on a coaching call from a guy from Alaska, they were exposed to something last evening on a coaching call that I have not been exposed to for 62 years in business. It's insane. Like, it was really fascinating.
What was that?
Taking your company public and the different rounds of funding and what each different round is looking for. So one round is looking for this, another round is looking for this, another round is looking for this. It's like, it was really interesting.
Gotcha.
And so here you have the Magic Seed system. This applies not only to here, but it applies to everything. It's like Miracle-Gro. You want your plants to grow faster, especially if they're growing fruit. Like, you want it faster, better fruit, all of that kind of stuff. And so get into internet leads. This is important. So your internet testimonials probably are going to be different than your non-internet testimonials. So we need to go ahead and be able to slice your marketing leads. This is dollar results marketing. We can see referral business, and we can see, advertising business and internet business. So you have 5 to 7 different categories where you're getting your leads. In dollar results marketing, it breaks it down so you can see, because this is what we talked about with the internet guy. Like, he didn't understand that. He said, well, I'm hoping you guys go ahead and get, 5 times the return. And it's like, so we're paying you 20% commission to generate a lead. Well, no, that's exactly what it is. If we get a 5 times return, we're paying you 20% to generate a lead. It's not just the lead. Well, he's doing the marketing, but you got all your pre-sales and all your sales. So if your sales closing ratio on referral leads are 80%, and yours is on 10% on internet leads, you're spending 800% more time on your pre-sales and your sales that you're not getting back. So your costs, but nobody knows how to track this stuff. With the PPA, I think you'll be able to. With some of the Life GPS CRM system, like there's not a system that I'm aware of. Tom Coots never even heard of dollar results marketing. Till one day he says, "What's that?" And I explained. He says, "I've never heard of that. That's amazing." I'm like, right? So what the internet forces you to do is to improve your system. And so whether or not, Luke, your internet dude, whether or not your internet dude is going to meet with you once a month, we need to have a once a month meeting about that.
Mm-hmm.
And what he's not realizing is he's giving a lot of incentive to go ahead and replace him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I don't know what it does to Kenny, but I know what it does to me. It's like, you know what? You got to know that. So most companies, they don't. They get enough leads and they say, well, you know, it's $1,000 a month, $1,100 a month. So, you know, we got 5,000, but they don't look at all of the details. So going through here is really important that you look at all of these things, you know, in the prospect conversion system, like this video here. And so it's like math. You know, you do addition, you do subtraction, multiplication, then you do division, and you start taking these systems and combining all of these systems together. Well, if you don't understand addition and subtraction, you're not going to do well with multiplication and division. And as your business gets larger, you have to know this. And with 3 degrees in business from a really good business college, you would think that they would have taught this to me. They did not. Little tiny itty bitty pieces, which helped. I'm glad I got it, but it's not anything close to the advancement that you guys are exposed to. But you guys have got to go ahead and internalize these things. The way you internalize them is you watch the video and then then you do a reflection on the video. You know, so what did I go ahead and so Nora, we can put these in, we could convert this could be the answer to what Luke's looking for. We could convert these into the Vimeo and then put them into the Life GPS mobile app. So anybody else have anything else? So, you know, in Top Gun, yeah, it's sales, but it's so much more. Everything interconnects with sales. When you're looking at, sales, well, if so Nora's doing a lot more marketing than I would like her to do. Doing more pre-sales than, so yesterday on the one of Nora's EVAs, Anita, went ahead and asked on the Coffee Connection yesterday. She said, how can I better support Nora and Ginger Ann and Elaine? That's the kind of attitude right there. Nora's in sales here. And so, if you don't have, your marketing and pre-sales, you're going to get sucked into it. If you don't have strong, servicing and client for life, you want to spend as much time. So having an awareness of these different aspects is equally important into the sales side. So if there's something in Top Gun that you're like, I don't know that I really need that. Well, you might not need it today, but tomorrow, it's going to help you for sure making more money. So hopefully this has been helpful to everybody. You guys are amazing. Have a great day. Bye-bye.